Hey there guys, it's Amiibo Jason here, and if you know anything about me personally, you know that I am a sucker for old 1980s and 1990s arcade cabinets, which is evident by what's behind me here. I absolutely love them. It was always a dream of mine since I was a kid to have one in my home, which I do, and you can imagine my surprise when the good folks at SNK announced that they were coming out with a mini version of the NEOGEO. Now, the NEOGEO is one of my all-time favorite arcade machines, and it has some of my favorite games of all time. King of Fighters and my personal favorite series, Metal Slug, is all included on this mini machine. So let's take a look and see what this thing has to offer and if it's worth your $100 plus. Alright, still with me? Awesome. So let's take a look at the system itself. I'm going to give you guys a couple ideas of where you can get one of these, how much it's going to cost, and what comes bundled inside. So this is coming to the US and Europe, but not quite yet. In fact, pre-orders are opening up very soon, but right now it's only available in Japan, and that's where I got this one. I ended up importing this one from Amazon Japan and getting it sent here. It cost me about 110 bucks plus shipping, but honestly, for everything that comes in this, it was well worth the price. And as I said before, it comes with 40 arcade classics. Now, many of these games, about 25 of them to be exact, are fighting games. So if you're a fan of games like the King of Fighters, this is definitely going to be something that's up your alley. But for me, my favorite part about this is that Metal Slug 1, 2, and 3 are included on this. And like I said before, that series is one of my favorite in NEOGEO's history. So you can imagine how great that is. So real quick, let's talk about the arcade unit itself. Obviously, it's a small, shrunken down version of a Japanese NEOGEO cabinet. The US version is definitely going to look a little bit different than this one. We'll have some images on the screen for you to take a look at, but this one I really like. I like the multicolored buttons, and really, it does a good job of making it look like an old arcade unit. It's made of plastic, which is to be expected, and it does have the iconic 4 buttons right there and the red joystick. I've played through Metal Slug 1, 2, and 3 already with this thing, and I've had no issues whatsoever. So if you're concerned about the controllability of this thing, don't be. Now, one thing I think that is very important to mention here is that this thing does not have a battery, so if you want to play it, it needs to be plugged in with the included USB Type-C cable. Honestly, I really wish this thing did have a battery so it would have a little bit more of a portability aspect to it, but it's not necessarily a major deal breaker. The display itself is a 3.5-inch 4x3 LCD display. It does a decent job actually displaying the games itself. I know a lot of people were concerned how this would look on an LCD, and personally, with such a small screen, I noticed really no major issues, no major ghosting, nothing like that that would make this unplayable. I did notice during playthroughs of Metal Slug where the game would get slowed down, but I'm not sure if that's a problem with the emulation or the hardware on the unit itself, but those experiences were really few and far between. There are some speakers built into this as well. They're loud enough. There is a volume control that you can essentially manipulate within inside the software itself, so if you're looking for just kind of a desktop experience, it does a halfway decent job. Now, the buttons themselves, they're relatively responsive. They're not as springy as you would expect from like a full-size arcade cabinet, but honestly, it does a decent enough job. No major complaints from me. Now, if you do want to hook this up maybe to a TV, you have that option too. There is a mini to full-size HDMI cable that you're going to have to buy separately if you want to hook it up to the TV, and there are 2 slots on the side of this unit where you can buy optional controllers for about 30 bucks each. For me, that kind of breaks the bank for this thing. That would set me back almost $200 for the system and the controllers, so I'm just going to kind of stick with it as is. Now, I did hook it up to the TV, and the only thing I can say is it looks a lot better when it's on the smaller screen. So I'm sure you're wondering, does this thing get a recommendation? And honestly, if you're a NEOGEO fan, maybe an arcade fan, it's a really cool thing to have. Now, for me personally, I'm not really going to be playing this thing for hours on end. It's going to be sitting on my desk. I'm going to get the occasional playthrough of Metal Slug in when I have the time, and that means this machine's really perfect for me. Now, if you're planning on picking this thing up to play it all the time, hook it up to a TV, you might want to look at other options, but for people like me, more collectors, this is a really cool option for you. But there you have it, the NEOGEO Mini. It's coming out in the US very, very soon. Stay tuned to Nintendo Wire. We'll let you know as soon as those pre-orders start to go up. But personally, it does get my recommendation, at least for a desktop playing experience. Again, hooking it up to the TV, having to buy the additional controllers, kind of feels like a little bit more cumbersome than I would like, but if you're looking to pick this thing up just to stay on your desk, play the occasional arcade game, and you're a NEOGEO fan, really, it's a no-brainer. But stay tuned, we're going to have a full review of the US version as soon as that comes out. We're hoping it's going to be out very, very soon, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you next time.